generation. I mean, you know, if you're in high school or college or a young professional today, this is sort of much more intuitive. It's sort of like, you know, having a Facebook page or Twitter. I mean, this is just sort of like what you do. And so for the marketing departments of big companies, I mean, they want to have that first mover advantage. That if they can be the first ones to say, we are going green and using clean fuel, there's usually a boost in customers of anywhere from 10 to 20%. Now this is over in Europe. The reaction here might be even bigger here in the United States. So just from a pure business standpoint, from a pure bottom line standpoint, this makes sense, literally dollars and cents. And this is that EPA sort of study I was sort of referring to earlier as well. And by the way, it won't blow up. In fact, here's the really cool thing, and this is my sort of vision. I was telling Tony about this. So my vision for my plant is, at the ribbon cutting ceremony, having, let's say, Mayor Emanuel and President Obama on the stage, and we're having a biodiesel toast. This stuff is so clean and so non-toxic that you can drink it. I know, you're thinking, Manish, you're crazy. Well, maybe a little bit, I might be. But it's about as toxic as table salt, and we love our salt in this country. So imagine having a little champagne flute with the President Obama sort of cheering, you know, energy independence and national security for the United States. That would be cool. He just became my best salesman, right, at that point, Tony? Did you have a question?
Yeah, stuff the benefits of biodiesel. Truck drivers that are in cold areas usually have to add a filler to the gas tank to keep their gas lines from freezing. Would you have to do that for that?
Yeah. Now, Chicago winter obviously would be one of the most challenging winters out there. So yeah, in the middle of you know, January, February, there are sort of additives that you can put. So it's something called gelling. It'll prevent that. But that's something very sort of minor. And in fact, that's one thing that as FOSS sort of matures and this whole industry sort of matures, is that I would love to see us go from, let's say, a B11 or B20 blend to like a B50 or B60 blend in the middle of the Chicago winter. I figure if, in fact, well, the CTA and Metra, I would love to do some studies with them and sort of in some preliminary talks of doing exactly that, of running some tests. Let me get through these and we'll save some more. So here's the secret sauce. So let's get into some of the methodology here. So this is basically, if you will, sort of the process diagram. So, you know, like I said, whether it's McDonald's or any hotel or Wrigley Field, we're collecting the grease from there in something called a vacuum truck. So it's like a hose that like a fireman would have, and they'll be heated, and you can put it into these containers, and I'll show you some pictures in a second here. And we would bring it back to the facility, transestrification, remember? And then we could distribute it any number of ways. So let's say it was the city of Chicago, let's say it was Metra, as I was sort of mentioning. You probably have noticed, I mean, even Senator Durbin has been at, you know, at Union Station talking about sort of the petroleum diesel fumes that are, you know, causing riders to get sick and whatnot. And so it's something that biodiesel could easily cure that. So let's see, if you had a fueling station, you know, whether it's, you know, Metra or whoever else, you can blend it any number of ways. I would love to see, like I said, you know, this sort of B99 blend and really be as clean as possible. But, you know, like I said, this is about maturity, and that, you know, as even the warranties on these diesel engine manufacturers, they have different policies of their warranties for biodiesel over in Europe versus here in the United States, because they realize that big oil has that much control. And so even if we started off with a B5 or a B11 or even a B20 blend, it's a starting point. And I think, you know, as awareness sort of builds and people see the benefits, 5, 10, 15 years, you know, it'll just become much more mainstream. Any questions on this?
What if the unthinkable happens and Americans start eating healthier and you have less and less of the fuel to recycle? Does the price go up, or does that have an effect somewhere along the chain?
Yeah, well, you know, I get asked that question a lot, and like I said, sort of that French fry oil, I think is just sort of the most easy way I can sort of explain this. As I mentioned, there are other alternatives as well. That sort of trap grease, that brown grease, there's even more of that than the French fry oil. So if we all started eating green apples instead of yellow French fries, that would be interesting. I'd love to see that day as well. But remember, there's also the used coffee grounds, and of course the big one is algae. So I would love to see the day that happens. Yeah, I think algae will be ready for prime time. But thanks. Okay, so this is what a vacuum truck looks like. And they come in different sizes. You know, there's 1,500 gallons or 3,400 gallons. You know, so you know, sort of these heated, you know, kind of like a fireman, and then you kind of put it into a container that looks like this. And so this is how it would be. So this is where I need a little marketing help. So I called it the yellow can program. So I sort of modeled this, and I know you're looking at these containers, but they're green cans, they're not yellow cans. I know, so this is where I need a little marketing help here. Maybe we call it the green can program. But City of Chicago tried this called the blue bag program. And I don't know if anyone here lives in the city itself, but so how that program worked and what Mayor Dale was trying to do was he would sell you these blue bags. Yeah, first problem. You have to pay to do the right thing, wrong. And you could put your recyclables into that, and then they would pick it up and recycle. So one thing as a company we want to do is provide all of these containers to all of our partners for free. 2 will come pick it up for free. Now some institutions are kind of wise to this, and they're realizing what biodiesel is. I mean, if you're in the restaurant industry, you would have probably already known about this. Why you're not doing it, who knows? But well, I know. Tony and I talked about it. It's even McDonald's. They sort of researched this, and they realized this is not their core competence. This is not what they do. But they're looking for partners who do that. Probably the best business case example I can give you is John Deere, the tractor makers. What is John Deere most famous for? Their colors, right? The green and gold sort of colors. They don't paint their own tractors. They have a production line, and they have a painting company right next door. So this is probably ultimately, whether it's a McDonald's or a Burger King or whoever, the partnership will probably be something similar to that. And so, remember what I mentioned about convenience, is that if you make something convenient, people will be sort of attracted to that. And with corporate America and the restaurant industry, is one thing that FOSS we want to do is make this as convenient and as sort of enjoyable of a process as they have. This sort of grease hauling industry, not only are they sort of an interesting group, but they also aren't very customer friendly. One thing that often happens, and I hear from a lot of mayors, is that let's say you're a suburban mayor of Chicago. Summer is usually your peak season for festivals and for restaurants, and a lot of these sort of containers will sort of overflow. Problem with that is there's a really bad smell to it, and it attracts rodents and other sort of insects. So now, with that smell and all of these sort of varmint, you know, customers are like, maybe I won't go to that restaurant or go to that city anymore. And you know, the customers are on the credit cards, not the mice. So the mayors are asking me, hey, can we improve on this system? And I said, yes, we can. Is that not only would we pick up the containers, the grease, but we'll even pick up the containers. So imagine an automated system where one of those trucks comes by, where not only could we pick up the grease, but we'd have another sort of vehicle, if the town wanted to, where we could actually have like sort of